whispering entertainment, entertainment. Tonight we are going to be reviewing the NXT PLE, the Great American Bash, from this Sunday. We are back on the webcam. I couldn't record this one with my phone because my phone is only at 30%, and given how much I yap, I just don't know if it can handle that. My battery can handle that, and I just don't want to risk losing that progress with me not looking into the camera. But that being said, I also don't have a ton of time to yap today. It is very late, so I'm just gonna get right into it if that's okay with you guys. The first match was Tony D'Angelo versus Naraku for the NXT Men's Championship. So Tony D comes out. If you didn't see the Go Home show on Tuesday, Tony D got his eye burned, like Naraku burned his eye with one of those quick fire. He opens up a book and some fire comes out of the book really quickly, and they sell it really hard, and he has a bandaged eye, and I was wondering if he actually can't see out of that. Like, it was bandaged, but it was white, so maybe it could be see-through, because I feel like I just can't imagine someone wrestling an entire PLE main championship level match with one eye. It just seems very difficult. This match started out quick. They got out the gate hot. Basically, immediately, Tony D is beating up Naraku. He goes out of the ring and he walks over to, I wrote down the crow's nest area, because I don't know what else to call it. That, platform that sometimes the people come out to cut promos or watch a match on. And Tony D, not spears, but just basically tackles him into, under the crow's nest area, basically through a wall. He gets tackled through a wall in the first, 30 seconds of the match. Less than a minute into the show, the crowd is chanting, the holy bleep chant. I don't want to curse too early into the YouTube video, because I believe that is a no-no. But the holy bleep chant is hit immediately in this show. So basically, the story of the match is that Naraku keeps hitting Tony in the face because he has the bandaged eye. And he gets poked in the eye, and then the ref is about to stop the match. He's checking on Tony, and he's I'm gonna stop the match, and Tony tells him no, you are not going to stop this match over anything. And I wrote in my notes, if you had a burned eye, how much more would a poke in the eye hurt than just normally? If you poked my eye right now, it would be, it's a very sensitive area. Even when it's not hurt, if someone jams a thumb right in your eye, if your eye is previously damaged, does it really make that big of a difference? Because I feel like it's pretty devastating either way. But any interesting spots in the match? Naraku hit this pretty interesting move. He had him up for an AA, but instead of flipping his legs, he flipped his head and then landed in the piercing arrow or the falcon arrow, one of those two, whatever it's called that Seth Rollins does. But he did it from his shoulders and flipped him, and then did a sit out kind of thing, which was pretty cool. And then in Tony D, cool move that he did a pop-up, power slam, almost like the Davey Boy power slam, but from a pop-up, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty creative. Don't see that every day. As for the finish, Tony D So he has this thing where he no-sells getting punched, or like any striker, he'll like no-sell that, and then he just kind of eats it, and that's fine. But then, for the finish of this match, Tony D just no-sells a German suplex, like he gets suplex, he just rolls over, just yells, and then hits him with the dead to rights. 1, 2, 3, and he retains the championship. I feel like this match wasn't too special, nothing too crazy. I could see maybe Naraku you would have thought would win because he's like an established name, but I almost feel like that's why they didn't put the title on him, because they need to try and build up Tony D because he's the top guy right now, and they lost all of their top guys to the main roster. So you gotta need to keep building up Tony D. Naraku, you could send him to the main roster whenever, basically whenever he gets more familiar with WWE style of wrestling, he'll be up there, and it doesn't matter if he wins any gold in NXT or not. So the next match is the women's North American title match between Tatum Paxley and Zarya. For the entrances, Zarya's intro movie, I guess you'd say, whatever you want to call it. It just looks really bad in my opinion. It just looks very AI. I'm not sure if it's AI because I don't know how long it's existed. So, the older it is, the less likely it's AI, but it just doesn't look very good, even if it's not AI. Like, it doesn't even cover the full screen because they, pop it up and then they show the arena and then it pops back up, so, you can see in the, around the edges, the actual camera feed, it just looks really bad. Not well done. And she doesn't need it. Her song is fine, her entrance is fine, she doesn't need that. So another thing I noted was that they're cutting to commercial mid-match. And I understand this is on cable TV and it's on, it's on CW. But it's still a PLE. It's not just a regular episode of NXT. So the fact that mid-match they're cutting to commercials in title matches is pretty, it's not crazy. I understand it, but it was surprising to me. Sorry. So there was a couple moves that Tatum did on Zarya that looked like she wasn't strong enough to do them, and as a result, Zarya kinda gets the worst of these moves. She does a superplex, but normally on a superplex they go kind of out a little bit and then it can kind of roll almost a little bit. But Tatum can't lift her that far, so she literally just falls straight down flat on her back, and I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, it looked a little more painful than a regular superplex. And then another one is Zarya setting up an F5 on the apron, but then Tatum counters it into the apron power bomb to kind of, so that she doesn't have to lift her up to the power bomb position, but she's supposed to deliver the power bomb. And even just that, it looked like she couldn't hold her very long, and it looks like she slams Zarya down decently hard without supporting her weight very well at all. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Maybe it didn't actually. It's just a regular bump for them. But I could see Zarya maybe being not too happy with Tatum in those moments. So, towards the end, towards the finish here, Tatum hits a cemetery drive on Zarya on the floor, outside of the ring. And so I'm okay, well, she got hit with the cemetery drive outside of the ring, so obviously once Tatum gets Zarya back in the ring and pins her, she's gonna kick out because there's time in between. But no, she brings her into the ring and then hits another cemetery drive. And then Zarya still kicks out, and I was surprised by this. Obviously, it's Zarya's first defense, and a champion's first defense, they win 90% of the time, but I really like the cemetery drive. I think it looks cool. I think it looks different than anything anyone else is doing right now. So for them to just not protect it so blatantly with one on the floor followed by one in the ring with minimal downtime, and then she kicks out, I just was like, it's a little bit upsetting for me. Also, it was one of those things where once this happened, it's like, okay, well, Tatum's definitely going to lose because that was like her best shot, right? You know, the classic. To be fair, right after this, Tatum gets hit by a spear into an F5 by Zarya, like comboed, like very, like spear, get up, F5. And then she did kick out, so I guess they each get a kick out on each other's finisher. Speaking of Zarya's finisher, her F5s are not good enough, in my opinion, for that to be her main move or finisher. When she does the F5, she literally just throws them off her shoulder. Like, they go far off to the side. She doesn't, like, hold their head. To me, when Brock Lesnar does the F5, he's, like, planting their head. I don't know, is that not how the move is supposed to go? But that's how it looks like for me. But when she does it, she literally sometimes just, she used to just throw them off, not even like fall on the ground. But now she started doing it and then like falling with them. But that, I don't want to say it almost looks worse, but it almost looks worse because she's still not holding their head. So it's like, why are you falling? You just threw them off your shoulders and now you're falling to the ground. It doesn't make a ton of sense. I think she can get it. I don't know, maybe she's just trying to, obviously you don't want to do the exact same thing as someone else, maybe she's just trying to do it different, but in this case, it's not harmless, like in the 90s when Kane does the tombstone and he just drops straight to his knees. That's fine, that's harmless, the move is still the move, but when she just throws him off her shoulders, doesn't hit as hard, so I don't know. I would change that, but she's been doing it for a couple months at least. So I'm not sure, maybe they are good with it. I don't know. Oh yeah, it didn't really matter in the end, so she kicks out of the spear F5 combo, and then she kind of just gets punched a bunch of times and then gets F5'd again, and then that's the match. So sorry, it does retain in the end. And then I'm just kind of curious what Tatum does from here. She's lost her title, she's lost the rematch, so she's out of that title picture. And she's not in the main title picture right now. I mean, maybe she could be, but you just lost for the mid-card title twice, so it doesn't make sense there, so I'm not sure where she's going to go from here, but she's super over, so I would imagine they have something planned for her. The next match is Shiloh Hill versus Tristan Angels. In their entrances, well, in Tristan's entrance, I just wrote this down because I thought it was funny. Vic asks Wade Barrett why he's standing, and Wade literally says, word for word, standing to attention, Vic Joseph, because this man gets my juices flowing. Which is crazy that he used the words juices flowing right after saying standing to attention. It's like, what are you referencing there, Wade? But anyway, the only real notable thing that they did for this match was Shiloh escapes to the ring and then crawls under it, and then Tristan follows him, and then they show a video of him under the ring, or a camera angle of him under the ring, and then there's a phone ringing, and he picks up the phone, and it just says some eerie stuff, and then Shiloh Hill in a horror movie mask puts him in a sleeper underneath the ring. And I say, if this was a recorded thing that they played on the monitors, I'm sure of it, just because, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but the most obvious one to me was just because Tristan then escapes under the ring. And then Shiloh is immediately right behind him and sleepers him again from outside the ring, so. And then the commentators are very confused because obviously it's not humanly possible. But anyway, outside of that funny spot. Oh yeah, so Shiloh Hill's tooth gets knocked out, and then later in the match he puts his own fake tooth in Shiloh's mouth, or in Tristan's mouth, which is like, I'm surprised that he was cool with that happening, because that's pretty gross. I can't lie. Not only was it in Shiloh's mouth, but then he knocked it out of his face, so it was on the floor, on the ring mat, and then it was in your mouth. So I don't know. If I was a professional wrestler, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. But I would have tried to find another way to do that. Some unique moves. Shiloh hits like a razor's edge power bomb, which was pretty interesting. He had him in the razor's edge position, but instead of throwing him, he like pulls him all the way down and does a sit out, which I hadn't seen before. So I noted that for creativity. And then Shiloh's finish to this match, because he does go over. He does this like on the second rope or the top rope. I think it was the second rope though. He has him in like the belly to back position, and then he lifts him up and does like a neck breaker, like from the second rope. So I guess you'd call it like either an avalanche or like a super neck breaker. But it was pretty interesting. And then obviously, or not obviously, but after the match, after he wins, he takes the Mr. NXT sash back. So I guess all is right with that storyline. Yeah, so it seems like Charlotte's getting a bit of a push. Tristan's been taking some L's. He might just be like a Kit Wilson type comic relief heel until further notice, or not comic relief, but like someone that's so obviously like you love to hate, that they just kind of always get used for like a pop. The next match was a speed match, so not much to say. It was Ren Sinclair defending her women's speed title against Ariana Grace. Nothing crazy happened in this match. I don't even... there was one move that I have written down here. Ren did like an Alabama slam, like setup, like so she has her like this, like she's holding her legs, Ariana's legs, for like, you know, the Alabama slam, but she's holding it like that. And then she like spins her around and almost does like a TKO, like a Mark Marrow the Wild Man, Mark Marrow / Marvelous Mark Marrow TKO. Wow, but like she's holding her ankle instead of her head, and like flips her that way, and then like I guess like almost a flapjack, I guess, type impact while holding onto her ankle, which was just something I thought was worth noting. I'd never seen that before either. But yeah, so she hits that move, and then she goes for her finish, where she like kind of like bridges and like grabs her arms. I'm not sure exactly what it does. I think it might just be like a shoulder thing. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, but she gets the tap out from Ariana Grace. You know, it's a speed title. There's not much to it. There was no story. It's just a tournament that led to this match. So, you know, it is what it is. Ren is gonna continue being Kendall Gray's friend, and Ariana's gonna continue being in Birthright, and that's what it is. The next match was Dion Lennox vs. Saquon Sugars, the Dark State on Dark State match. Or I guess Saquon is no longer in Dark State. So when Dion comes out, he has neither of the other Dark State members with him. And then Saquon comes out, and it's like a rework, like a League of Legends rework for this guy. He has a new song, new Titantron, like graphic because they don't do Tron highlight videos anymore for whatever reason. But he has a new graphic, he has a new song, he has a new fit. He's got drip, he's got a weapon, he's got a baseball bat with like red and white wrap because it's like a candy cane because they really lean into the sugars part of his name. Like he's like the candy man. That's really what it looks like when he's coming out. He's got the candy cane bat and his Titantron is like candy on it. I don't know. I don't think it's very good. We shall see. Oh yeah, I also just noted his new song. It's like a little too simple. Like I feel like there's something there, but they need to add something to it, some vocal. I don't know. It's just very simple. So the injured Dark State members that Saquon took out do come out during this match, in the middle of the match. They still have casts on, so they're not like they're selling the injury, but they come out in the middle of the match. And then they don't do anything until after the match ends. So to me, I'm like, hey, why didn't you just walk out with Dion? Because, like, that's your boy, right? That's your Dark State leader, or whatever. Maybe not leader, but your boy. And then B, why wouldn't you just have them do a run out after the match? I get that, like, one of them was in a light gas, so he couldn't, like, run out. But it's like they came in the middle of the match and literally did nothing until the end of the match. They didn't interfere at all. They never even did, like, a distraction spot where Saquon, like, eyes one of them, and then Dion, like, gets the upper hand for, like, a couple seconds. Like, literally were not used at all, except to jump Saquon at the end of the match, because, spoiler alert, Saquon does go over in this match. So it was just a weird way to do it. You could have had him come out at the beginning, you could have had him come out at the end, but having him come out in the middle for nothing was just a weird choice for me, for my money. Let's see what else. They botched like a pinning combination spot where they like do a pin and then a counter and do their own pin and back and forth and back and forth. But it was very sloppy, and when those don't work, it's kind of dumb because the ref is like waiting for the shoulders to get down to do the count, so then the timing gets thrown off, and it just didn't really look very good. Oh yeah, so the finish. Saquon like picks up Dion Lennox, and then he kind of just dropped him. Like there was no move. It looked like Dion like just kind of like dead weighted while Saquon had him up, and then he just kind of dropped him to the floor in a heap, like, but like not like in a good way. Like it was like very strange. And then so he just gives up on whatever that was supposed to be, walks over to the corner, and then does like a backwards splash that the camera didn't really catch really well. So it was just a very weird finish. Like all of a sudden, Saquon picks him up, Dion just falls to the ground with no like actual move that Saquon did, and then he gets up on the top rope, jumps backwards into a splash, which isn't a great finisher, and then Dion gets pinned. It just was not a good ending. And then, as I mentioned, he gets immediately jumped by the other two Dark State members. But yeah, so Saquon, I guess, I don't know what they're going to do with him. And then Dion, I don't know what they're going to do with him either. I guess they're just going to keep him feuding for a little bit longer and then go from there, considering Dark State still jumped Saquon after the match. Okay, I was debating if I should mention this, but there was a backstage interview of Tatum where she's just kind of upset, obviously, after she lost her title opportunity. And then Kalani Jordan comes in and is like, why are you crying? At least you got an opportunity. Because she's on her wave that she never got an NXT Women's title match, which I agree is crazy. Because she's been in NXT for as long as I've been watching. She was in the Royal Rumble, like the WWE main roster Royal Rumble. She was one of the NXT women that was in the Women's Rumble. So to hear that she never had an NXT Women's title shot is surprising to me. as someone who's relatively new to NXT, to watching NXT. But yeah, so they brawl and then they get broken up, so that's going to be a thing. Tatum and Kalani, which I'm down. I like Kalani, I like Tatum, so seems like there'll be some good matches there. The second to last match was Miles Bourne versus Davion Heights. I'm not really big on either of these guys, so sorry if this isn't the greatest review, or the most detailed, because this match didn't really do anything for me. I don't understand Davion's aesthetic. Like, the Greek or Roman, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely even sure what that is. I think it's Greek, though, because Vic Joseph did mention, like, that he's an Olympian, so maybe he's just leaning super hard into, like, Greek stuff because of the Olympics. It looks weird on him. It doesn't make a ton of sense. He has no character. Like, none of his character or his moves relate back to that aesthetic. And like, on his Titantron and on his gear, I just don't get it. Something I did note down, I noticed recently that the armbar kind of sucks now. When I was watching WWE as a kid, Alberto Del Rio comes in and just starts armbarring people and is like getting a push and winning hella matches with just the armbar. But now every single time someone goes for that armbar where they're laying on the side of the person with their legs, one leg over their neck, one leg over their chest, and they have their arm and they're supposed to like pull it over their own leg. It literally never works. Every single time now, the other person just clamps their hand. And I'm like, if this was real life, is that enough? I would imagine the other person could probably overpower you if they have your entire arm and they have their legs. I would imagine they would be able to rip that. I don't know, but every single time they let the person bend their arm and grab their hand, and the armbar is literally never applied. This is multiple matches. The armbar is like never applied, and it gets countered this way every single time. And they clamp their arms. And they have to roll up the person. I mean, actually, I would say that's mainly what they do. They grab their arms and then they somehow find a way to get the other person's shoulders are already on the ground because they're laying like this. So they just roll over to the side. And then now they're pinning the other guy and they have to let go of the hold. It happens so many times. I don't know why they never let anyone actually armbar people. I don't know. Sorry for that tangent. But so the finish was kind of botched in this match as well. Davion has Miles Bourne up in like AA type position, and then he does whatever move he was gonna do, throws Miles up in the air, and then Miles hits him with the Born Again, which is the zigzag. He throws him up in the air, Miles grabs him, and hits the zigzag. But the reason I say it was botched is because Miles like barely. I'm so sorry. I'll have to edit that one out. That was a hard punch on the mic. The mic just took a bump. I apologize for that. But Miles like reaches over and barely touches Davion's head. He can barely grab it. So you still know that he was doing the Born Again. But it just didn't look very good. So yeah, he retains. They seem to think he's going to be a big thing. It seems like he's very solid in his position right now as North American champion, and they are going to continue to book him that way and give him a long title reign is what it's looking like. And we'll see. I don't have anything against him. He just doesn't do anything for me right now. And Davion, I have no idea what they're doing with Davion. There's a lot of guys on the roster. There's only 2 titles. and then the tag titles, so not sure where they're going with him. Okay. Jesus, it's been a half an hour. It's like impossible to do one of these videos. And have it not be at least half an hour. At least for me. You guys let me know. You want me to take less bullet points? I would be down. It would make the videos shorter, and it would make me have to not type as much. But I feel like I don't yap too much about useless stuff. Maybe the interesting spots and moves don't need to be included. You guys let me know. But we have the main event, which is Kendall Gray versus Lola Vice for the NXT Women's Championship. So, off the bat, I didn't watch this live. I was watching a recording, and as I saw how much time was left in the video when the match started, I was a little bit disappointed, because from the time that the North American title match ends, and or rather, when the North American title match ends, there's like 40 minutes left in this video. And then by the time that the women's title match actually starts, like they get through all the entrances and the bell rings, there's like 15 minutes left. So I'm like, what happened? I didn't even tell you guys what happened because it was useless fluff segments. Like they cut to the tailgate, where nobody really says anything interesting. Even Kevin Owens didn't really say anything interesting. And then like Hank and Tank come out, like it was just useless stuff. So basically, when the North American title match ended, I'm like, oh man, I got plenty of time for this main event, and then all of a sudden, it's like there's only 15 minutes left, and I was a little disappointed in that, because I love Kendall Gray matches. But, here we go. And so Kalani tries to attack Kendall in the middle of this match, but she gets interrupted by Ren, which was pretty interesting. It seemed kind of random. I didn't realize Kalani was that butthurt about losing. I mean, obviously she was, but what does she get from attacking Kendall? But either way, I think Kendall had really good matches with Kalani. They had 2 matches, and I think both of them were really good, and I actually think both of the Kendall Gray and Kalani Jordan matches were better than this PLE main event between Kendall and Lola Vice, just because I think Kalani can adapt, or is more adaptable to Kendall's wrestling style, where they're just on the ground, switching holds back and forth. It looked like Lola wasn't as comfortable. She was a little bit slower to the pickup of these moves. Whereas if you go back and watch Kendall Gray and Kalani Jordan's matches just on the weekly NXT, they were very good and very crisp. Crisp. So another spot I want to talk about. I love Kendall, like I said, but I'm not so sold on the Shades of Grey as a finish. She does one in this match where she jumps off the barricade and like grabs Lola and hits the Shades of Grey on the floor, but it just looks like Kendall got hurt worse because she just jumps from the barricade flat on her back on the hard floor. And it just doesn't look that good. And then she grabs Lola and like slams her face, but it doesn't, it just looks like Kendall gets the worst of it just by jumping on her back. Like, the RKO is a similar thing, but he's got like both arms above their head, so you could really like suspend disbelief and imagine that he could like slam their face. But when she's like got one arm and then like just one hand over here, I don't know. I'm not so sold on this move, to be honest. So, getting a little bit closer to the finish, they have, like I'm saying, in these Kendall Gray matches, they have their thing where they go back and forth of submission and submission. And then they both get up. Lola hits her with a back fist as she bounces on the ropes and like throws out a Hail Mary elbow and like clocks Lola. And then they're both laying on the ground side by side. And then they both stick out like one arm just over the other. And the ref starts counting, and then they both kick was pretty cool. That was a fun spot for sure. So now the actual finish of the match. Kendall is running at Lola. Lola goes for the back fist. Kendall ducks under it as she runs past her. Jumps into the corner, does a springboard, turn around, shades of gray. 1, 2, 3. New Women's NXT Champion, which I was surprised by. Thoughts on the Shades of Grey side? I was surprised that she won this match. Obviously, like everyone says, Kendall Gray is the future, and I obviously agree with that. Kendall Gray is the future. But I really did think that meant the future, like down the line. The future of NXT, not the future of potentially the main roster. I thought it was a little bit, or not, I think it's a little bit early. I thought for the bookers that this would be early to give her a title win. I don't personally think that it's too early for Kendall Gray, because I think that Kendall Gray is very good, and I think she could hold a championship in NXT and even go to the main roster and see what happens. I don't think she's too early for that for her, but I thought it was too early for her to get a win from the perspective of the people, booking, Sean. Sean might think, from what I understand, she was just Evolve champion a couple months ago, so to already be NXT Women's Champion, it's kind of like what Lola was saying. Like when Lola got here, she had to spend years before she got the NXT Women's Championship, and then Kendall gets it immediately. Not that Kendall doesn't deserve it, because I think she puts on bangers, but I'm just surprised at how quickly she was able to pick up this win. And the other takeaway on the other side of this, the Lola Vice side of things. My first takeaway is she, on her way out, not on her way out of WWE, but on her way out of NXT onto the main roster, they just did a bunch of call-ups right after WrestleMania, so that seems unlikely. But I just feel like I feel like Lola was set up to have a long title reign throughout the year, and then get called up the next time they do call-ups. But for her to lose this title to someone so much younger, I mean, I don't know their ages, I haven't looked them up, but in terms of time on NXT, so much younger than she is already, in was that her second defense? She defended against Izzy Dame. Was that her second title defense and she lost already? So I feel like maybe Rey Mysterio called in a favor. Maybe he wants her in AAA more before she goes to main roster. But to me, it just seems like she's not going to be on NXT much longer, given that she lost this match. Because it doesn't make sense for the title to go back and forth, because then why would you have put it on Kendall Gray? And also Kendall Gray's beef with Kalani, so I feel like they gotta do that. Well, they can't do that first, because Lola is gonna get a rematch as the champion, obviously. But you have Kendall, you have Kalani. Izzy is still gonna come back for that title, I'm assuming, once they're gonna have a bit of a culling story with Spears getting kicked out. That was on last Tuesday, but Izzy's gonna be back, I think, rather quickly. Kalani is already next up, and then Lola needs a rematch, so they have some stuff for Kendall to do. But I don't know. I just feel like Lola would have held on to this title. So to me, that means she's either taking a break, going to the main roster, maybe going to AAA. I'm not sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if Lola is doing something outside of NXT. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. That was the end of the PLE. Nothing happened after that. Kendall celebrated her win, and then that was it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Raw was tonight. I started watching it I will finish watching it tomorrow and get the video hopefully posted tomorrow for you guys for Raw review. Oh no, sorry. Raw was yesterday. NXT was tonight. I got a little bit behind because a PLA on Saturday and a PLA on Sunday. I don't have a ton of time to record my videos, so I am a little bit behind. I apologize for that, but Raw review will hopefully come out tomorrow, and then NXT review, and then there's back-to-back days of no new WWE content until Friday, so hopefully, and there's nothing over the weekend of WWE content-wise, so hopefully by Friday I will actually be able to post on time, meaning like SmackDown's on Friday, reviews on Saturday. That's like my goal, is the next day. That's kind of the schedule I want to be in. But yeah, so moving forward, hopefully no PLE this week. I will be able to get Friday SmackDown on time, and then the next Raw and NXT on time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I hope you have a good night, or a good day, whatever it is for you. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow.